It was a hot afternoon, the kind where the sun pressed down on the streets like a heavy weight. Marcus pulled his delivery truck into the parking lot of Crest Hill Furnishings, an upscale furniture store in the heart of the city. He had done hundreds of deliveries before, same routine, different location. Except this time, this delivery was about to change everything. Marcus parked near the loading dock and grabbed the clipboard, checking the order details. A high-end leather sofa set, probably worth more than what most people made in a month. He climbed out of the truck, adjusting his uniform. Nothing flashy, just simple work clothes, worn boots, and a cap pulled low over his eyes. As he walked toward the entrance, he barely noticed the glassy office windows reflecting his every move. But inside, they were already watching him. The moment Marcus stepped through the doors, he felt it. That shift in the air, the sideways glances, the smirks, the condescending stares. Behind the front counter stood a group of well-dressed employees, all chatting and laughing until their eyes landed on him. Then, the whispers started. One of the men, a tall, slick-looking salesman named Todd, nudged his coworker, chuckling. Wow. Didn't know they let the help use the front entrance. A blonde receptionist snorted, barely looking up from her manicure. Probably got lost. Maybe he's here to use the bathroom. Marcus heard every word, but he didn't react. Not yet. Because Marcus knew something they didn't, something that was about to turn their whole world upside down. He walked up to the counter, setting his clipboard down with a polite nod. Afternoon. I'm here to deliver an order. Before he could finish, Todd cut him off. Yeah. Back entrance, buddy. We don't take deliveries through the front. Marcus tilted his head slightly. The order says to enter through the main entrance. Todd rolled his eyes dramatically. Yeah, and my paycheck says I should be making 6 figures. But life isn't fair, is it? His coworkers burst into laughter. Marcus glanced at the receptionist, who was shaking her head with a smirk. You delivery guys always try to pull this stunt, she muttered. Thinking if you walk through the front doors, you'll get treated like a customer or something. Marcus clenched his jaw, not out of anger, but because he had seen this before. He had been here before, people assuming, judging, laughing, but that was okay, because Marcus wasn't just any delivery guy, and soon they were going to wish they had treated him with respect. Marcus stood there, calm and composed, as the employees of Crest Hill Furnishings continued to laugh at his expense. He had faced this kind of treatment before. People who judged him at first glance, assuming they were better than him just because of the way he looked. But today was different, because they weren't just mocking a delivery man, they were mocking their own boss. Todd leaned against the counter, arms crossed, still smirking. You're new, huh? Let me guess. You just started working for the company? First week on the job? Marcus simply raised an eyebrow. Why do you say that? Todd scoffed. Because if you weren't new, you'd know the rules. Delivery guys don't use the front entrance. The blonde receptionist, Kelly, rolled her eyes. Seriously, do you people even read instructions? You people? Marcus took a slow breath, keeping his expression unreadable. Todd smirked, taking it a step further. You know, man, if you really want to walk through the front door so bad, maybe you should apply for a janitor position. I'm sure we could find something for you. The group erupted in laughter. One of the other salesmen, Brian, shook his head. Nah, even that's too much. He'd probably drop a mop bucket all over the floor. Kelly covered her mouth, pretending to be shocked. Oh no, and then who's going to clean up after the janitor? More laughter. Marcus simply stood there, silent, observing, letting them dig their own grave. As they continued mocking him, Marcus casually glanced around the store, and that's when he noticed it. Something big, a critical mistake in their operations. Mistake that only the real owner would recognize. But instead of reacting, Marcus kept his expression neutral. Because now, he had a plan. He turned back to Todd. So, Marcus said, keeping his voice light, I assume you're in charge here? Todd puffed up his chest immediately. Damn right. I run the sales floor. What I say goes. Marcus nodded. And the manager? Out to lunch, Todd replied with a lazy wave. But honestly, I'm the one who keeps this place running. Kelly giggled. That's true. He's basically the boss when the real one isn't around. Marcus smiled. Perfect. Todd sighed dramatically. All right, look, I'll tell you what. If you're done wasting our time, I might be willing to sign off on the delivery. But only if you do something for us first. Marcus raised an eyebrow. Oh? Todd grinned. Say, I apologize for trying to act like I belong in a place like this. The group burst into laughter again. Kelly leaned forward. Oh, and maybe add, I'll be a good delivery boy and use the back entrance next time. Tears of laughter ran down Brian's face. Man, we should record this. It's comedy gold. Marcus didn't move, didn't blink, didn't react. Because now, it was his turn. The entire staff at Crest Hill Furnishings was laughing, their insults rolling off their tongues with ease. Marcus stood there, still calm, unreadable, unshaken. Because what? They didn't know? Was that they had just made the biggest mistake of their lives. As Marcus glanced around the showroom, something stood out immediately. Something only the real owner would catch. A high-end sectional couch, one of their most expensive pieces, was displayed wrong. The tag listed it as an exclusive Italian leather model, but Marcus knew better. Because this wasn't Italian leather at all. It was a cheaper material, imported from a low-budget supplier. If customers found out, lawsuits, refunds, the company's reputation, gone. And these idiots, they had no idea. Marcus smirked slightly, adjusting his cap. It was time to test them. So, Marcus said casually, turning back to Todd, you really know this place inside and out, huh? Todd grinned, puffing out his chest. Hell yeah. Been here 3 years. I know this store better than anyone. Marcus nodded, pretending to be impressed. Then let me ask you something, he said, walking toward the expensive couch. This piece right here, this is the premium Italian leather model, right? Todd scoffed. Obviously, that's a $10,000 set, real Italian craftsmanship. Marcus ran his fingers over the material, feeling the difference instantly. Huh, he muttered. That's interesting. Brian, still chuckling from the previous insults, tilted his head. Why? Marcus turned back to them, his expression unreadable. Because this isn't Italian leather. The laughter stopped. Todd's smirk wavered. What? Marcus tapped the cushion. This is faux leather. A knockoff. The real Italian model has a completely different grain texture and doesn't crease like this when you press into it. He let his hand rest on the armrest, then looked at Todd. And if you knew this store better than anyone, you'd know that, wouldn't you? Todd's face turned red. That's ridiculous, he stammered. We only sell authentic materials. Marcus raised an eyebrow. Oh? So if I call up the supplier, they'll confirm that this is real Italian leather? Silence. Kelly glanced at Brian. Brian glanced at Todd. And Todd was sweating, because now he had no idea if Marcus was bluffing. You see, Marcus continued, stepping back toward the counter, I actually know a lot about this company. About its suppliers, about its pricing. He leaned against the desk, arms crossed. And if I were the owner of this business, I'd be pretty pissed if my employees were out here lying to customers and laughing at people they think are beneath them. A thick, uncomfortable silence settled over the showroom. Kelly finally broke it, her voice quieter now. Who are you? Marcus smiled. Guess you'll find out soon enough. Then he reached into his back pocket and pulled out a set of keys, the master keys to the building. Todd's eyes went wide. Brian stepped back. And Kelly? Her face drained of color, because only one person had those keys, and it wasn't a delivery guy. The moment Marcus pulled out the master keys, the air in the showroom changed instantly. The smug expressions? Gone. The condescending laughter? Dead silent. The employees who had spent the last 10 minutes mocking him? Now, they looked terrified. Todd took a step forward, squinting at the keys. Wait. Those keys, how did you get those? He asked. his voice uneasy. Marcus twirled them around his finger. "You tell me," he said casually. Kelly's face was pale, her usual arrogance nowhere to be found. Those are the owner's keys," she whispered. Marcus finally let his smile widen. "That's right." Then, slowly, deliberately, he took off his cap. And that's when they recognized him. Todd staggered back as the realization hit. The man they had just spent the last 10 minutes humiliating was their boss, Marcus Jameson, the owner and CEO of Crest Hill Furnishings, the very company they worked for, the company they had just shamed themselves in front of. Brian's hands shook. "This is some kind of joke, right?" Marcus turned to him, still calm, still composed. "Do I look like I'm joking?" The employees stood there, frozen, panicked, their entire world crashing down. Todd was the first to recover, barely. Hey, Mr. Jameson," he said, forcing an awkward chuckle. "We were just, messing around, workplace banter." "Yeah," Kelly added quickly. "We totally knew it was you, just playing along, sir." Marcus raised an eyebrow. "Really?" he asked. "So calling me a janitor and a delivery boy who got lost was just banter?" Todd swallowed hard. "Well, and asking me to apologize for trying to act like I belong here, that was a joke too." Silence. Todd's mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water. Kelly looked like she was about to pass out. Brian just stared at the floor, praying he could somehow disappear. "You know what the funny thing is?" Marcus said, pacing in front of them. "When I came in here, I wasn't even looking for a problem. I was just making a routine visit, checking in on my store." He shook his head, sighing. "But instead, I walk in and see my own staff mocking and humiliating someone they assume is beneath them." Todd tried one last time. It was a mistake, sir. If we knew it was you—" Marcus snapped his gaze to him, eyes sharp. "And that's the problem," he interrupted. "You only care because I have power, because I sign your checks. But if I had actually been just a delivery guy," his voice dropped, steady and firm, "you would have kept laughing." Todd had no response, because he knew it was true, and now he knew what was coming next. Brian finally broke the silence, his voice trembling. "Mr. Jameson, please, we made a mistake. Don't fire us." Marcus tilted his head. "Why shouldn't I?" Kelly jumped in, desperate. "Now, we love working here. We're really good employees, I swear." Marcus let out a humorless chuckle. "Funny, because I don't think any of you employees actually know a damn thing about how this business runs." He gestured toward the fake leather couch, the one they had been falsely selling as Italian leather. "Let's start with the fact that you've been lying to customers about our products. Because of your ignorance, this store is at risk for lawsuits and a PR disaster." Todd visibly deflated, sweat forming on his forehead. And then there's the fact that you openly mock people you think are beneath you in my store, while wearing my company's name on your shirts." Marcus crossed his arms. "So tell me, why exactly should I keep any of you here?" Silence. They had no answer. And now? It was time for consequences. The silence in the showroom was thick with fear. Todd, Kelly, and Brian, once so smug, so arrogant, so full of themselves, were now standing there like children caught red-handed. Because in the span of just 10 minutes, their entire world had flipped upside down. The man they had mocked, belittled, and insulted wasn't just a delivery guy, he was their boss. And now, it was time for justice. Marcus took a deep breath, shaking his head. "I built this company from the ground up," he began, his voice calm but filled with authority. "I started as a carpenter, making furniture out of my garage. I spent years learning this business, perfecting my craft, and hiring good people who believed in what we stood for." His eyes scanned the terrified employees. but clearly not all of them shared my vision. Todd swallowed hard. Mr. Jameson, please. Marcus raised a hand. Stop. Todd shut his mouth instantly. You had no problem running your mouth before, Marcus said coldly. But now that your job is on the line, you suddenly know how to be respectful? Kelly's eyes filled with tears. Sir, we didn't mean any harm. We were just joking. Marcus chuckled, but there was no humor in it. Funny? Because I didn't hear any jokes when you were calling me the help and telling me to act like I belong. Kelly looked away, her face burning with shame. But let's be honest, Marcus continued. You're not sorry for what you said. You're sorry because you got caught. Todd's hands curled into fists. Sir, we're valuable employees. You can't just fire us over a misunderstanding. Marcus raised an eyebrow. A misunderstanding? He took a step forward, towering over Todd now. You lied to customers about our products. You laughed at someone you thought was beneath you. And worst of all, you let your arrogance blind you to an opportunity. Todd blinked. Opportunity? Marcus smirked. Yes, because if you had treated me with just an ounce of respect, you'd still have a job right now. Todd's face fell. And then? Marcus turned to all three of them, his next words sharp as a blade. You're fired. Kelly gasped. No, please. I need this job. Brian looked devastated. It was just a mistake. Todd exploded. You can't do this, he shouted. We're your best employees. We bring in sales. Marcus tilted his head. You bring in sales? Todd nodded quickly. Yes, I made this store thousands of dollars last month. You're going to fire me over some stupid comments? Marcus let out a slow breath. Then he walked over to his office door, unlocked it, and stepped inside. A moment later he returned, holding a thick folder. He flipped it open. Oh, this is interesting, he mused. Todd, do you know what this is? Todd frowned, shifting uneasily. No. Marcus looked up, dead in the eye. This is a record of customer complaints. About you. Todd's face drained of color. There are at least 20 different reports here, all saying you were rude, dismissive, or downright nasty to customers. Marcus turned to Kelly. And you? I've got 5 separate reports of you talking down to customers, telling them they couldn't afford certain pieces before they even got the chance to browse. Kelly stiffened. That's not true. Marcus raised a hand. Save it. Then he turned to Brian. You? Honestly, I don't even know why you're here. You don't sell anything. You just follow these two around and laugh at their jokes. Brian looked like he wanted to sink into the floor. Marcus closed the folder. This company doesn't need people like you. Your employment is officially terminated. Collect your things and leave. Kelly's lip quivered. Mr. Jameson, please, just give us one more chance. Marcus exhaled, his gaze softening just slightly. One chance? He repeated. She nodded quickly. Yes, please, sir. We'll be better. We'll work harder. We'll... Marcus held up a hand. You already had a chance. He pointed to the entrance. Now, get out. Todd clenched his jaw, muttering under his breath as he turned to leave. Kelly wiped away tears as she followed him. Brian, he didn't even argue. Because deep down, he knew they deserved this. As the three of them walked out, the showroom felt different. Lighter. Better. Marcus turned to the remaining staff, the employees who had watched the whole thing unfold. They stood there, wide-eyed, waiting for him to speak. And finally, he did. Let this be a lesson, he said, his voice firm but calm. In this company, we treat everyone with respect. It doesn't matter if they're a delivery person, a janitor, or a CEO, because at the end of the day, he looked toward the door where Todd, Kelly, and Brian had just exited. Arrogance will cost you everything. A few of the employees nodded, taking his words to heart. Marcus sighed, running a hand over his face. Then he smiled. All right, he said, rolling his shoulders. Enough. Drama for one day. Let's get back to work. As Marcus turned to leave, One of the junior saleswomen, a quiet girl named Nina, stepped forward. "Mr. Jameson?" she asked nervously. He paused, looking at her. "Yes," she swallowed. "That Italian leather couch you pointed out. The one that was a fake?" Marcus nodded. She hesitated, then smiled shyly. "I actually noticed that last week, but I didn't know if I should say anything." Marcus grinned. "Well, next time," he said, clapping a hand on her shoulder. "Speak up, because people like you are the ones who deserve to be here." Nina beamed, and with that, Marcus walked toward his office, knowing his company was better off than ever, because respect would always matter more than arrogance. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button, share it with friends, and subscribe for more awesome content. Don't forget to tap the bell icon to stay updated. Your support means the world